Give us a date and what type of product we're going to get. We're not. I mean, you may fail at that, but you're failing worse by giving us no information. Give us an approximate date and product.
So you're saying that my latest update with the timeline on it is not
the one that said
good enough?
Yeah, the one that said 2014. That update? Your latest timeline had wrong dates on it.
It didn't have the wrong date. This is Denny, by the way. The 2014 stuff, if you notice, that it was 100% complete. It was just a continuation of a previous timeline that's been updated.
Okay. When approximately are we getting something, and what approximately are we getting? Approximately.
Look at the update that I just gave you. That's my approximation.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what.
I don't know what it says.
You want me to invent something? You want me to make something up so that you can hold me to it and then yell at me about it? I'm not going to do it. I'm telling you every bit of information as I get it. I am giving you the best information that I have. I am trying not to mislead anyone.
Charlie, I'm a real estate agent in California. I don't know half of that shit. All I know is I have an iPhone 6. And what I'm trying to figure out is, am I going to get something that's going to improve the battery life of my iPhone 6? And when approximately am I going to get it? I originally bought yours because I was going on vacation at the approximate time you were going to deliver it. Now I'm planning another vacation in July. I'm trying to decide, do I need to buy a battery pack for my iPhone 6 or not? Or am I going to get this mysterious one from you in time for my vacation?
No, you're not.
I may not be able to deliver. I'm not. Okay, so it's not going to be delivered by July. Good.
Yeah.
Is it going to be delivered in 2015?
That's a fair question. Every indication that I have right now says yes, it will be.
And if we do get this mysterious thing in 2015, what's it going to do compared to what we thought it was originally going to do?
It's going to do everything that was in the original video, except Apple has forced me into a custom memory module, so it's not a standard SD card. And the other difference is that it won't have the Lightning port to 30-pin adapter, which also Apple disallowed me from doing.
And what phones is it going to work with?
It will work with it depends on what version you want.
I have the iPhone 6.
Okay,
is it going to work with the iPhone 6?
That sounds good.
Yes, it will. It will work with the 6 and the 6 Plus.
Okay, so I can expect something sometime in 2015 that'll work with my iPhone 6, but we know it won't be by July. So you've got a 6-month span, August through whenever, that you think you might be able to deliver it. Is that accurate?
Those are your words. But
the call, we talked about that, and just to recap it briefly,
You sound tight.
The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, he's thinking about September. They'll be able to possibly be going into production on the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, because we've got to do the 5 and 5S first to meet the majority of the Kickstarter obligations. And until those are proven to work and going, start on the 6 and 6 Plus.
And I don't recall that you guys have taken a survey recently as to what the Kickstarter obligation, the Kickstarter people needed. Have you?
What do you mean the Kickstarter people needed?
A lot of backers they have indicated that, right now a lot of them still do have the 5 and 5S, and that's where we are. That's what the MFI is for, and that's what we're going to be building first. The 6 and 6 Plus, once the printed circuit board that makes this stuff work will work across all versions. Doesn't matter if it's a 6, a 6 Plus, a 5, a 5S, a 4, whatever. The printed circuit board that controls everything is going to be the same all the way across the board. Okay? Once that's actually working, the tooling is done for the 5 and 5S. So those will go into production first. We're not going to start making tools for the 6 and 6 Plus until we've got everything going with the 5 and 5S. That's why it's a post 5S production.
And what process did you use to determine that the majority of the Kickstarter backers wanted a 5 or a 5S instead of a 6 or a 6S?
It's the communications that they've had with us directly. And it may not be a majority anymore, but we will find that out.
So wouldn't you want to find that out before you went into production so that you could satisfy the majority of your people first that are pissed off? So if the majority of the Kickstarter backers, if 60% of them have iPhone 6s or 6 Pluses, and you're making 5 or 5Ss for the minority, doesn't that sound illogical to you?
No, it doesn't, because the original commitment was to come out with a 4.
He's right. It doesn't sound on the surface like it makes any sense. If he's right and the majority have 6 and 6 Pluses, it doesn't sound logical. He's right. It doesn't sound logical, okay? But the reality is that there are a lot of communications coming in, okay? We know that there are a lot of people who still have, want, and need a 5 and 5S. We do read the comments, and we know that there are a lot of people who have upgraded, but not everybody instantly upgrades. And that the people who do are very often, they're right there. They're always the ones who are going to upgrade right off the bat. And sure, that's a definite percentage. But at the end of the day, the reality and the answer to your question
they're calling
is the
law enforcement and really screwing things up.
That's what the tooling is done for. The tooling isn't done for a 6 and 6 Plus.
That's correct.
Well, I agree whatever you said, and sorry to jump in because I was just listening from all over long. I ordered for my 5, and now it has been 2 years. My phone is out of contract, and that's for sure that I am actually going for a 6 or probably a 6 Plus. So my question is that, like, when you're going into production, you will be knowing that, okay, how many numbers that you want to make. So you want to, like, ask people first that, okay, what you want, and then you're going for right.
Yes, we will. If I understood your question correctly, we will be sending out. I'll do it through the update. Is the only way I can do it. I didn't realize that when we sent out a survey that we could only do that one time. So we've blown that already. So now the only way that we can do this survey is to do it through an update. And I have everybody's email addresses. And, I'm going to ask people to tell me what they want, what version they want. Do they want a 5 or a 6 or a 6 Plus and or a 4? And then we'll make those accordingly and ship them out.
That's great, Charlie. I'll like to suggest something over here. I know that you have blew your chances over there, but I would say, like, if you want to really connect a good service, because other project used, I think, SurveyMonkey or Monkey Survey, whatever it is, there is a third party, and I think you should use that to, get a real-time feedback from people rather than an update and you being counting with.
How about a T-shirt? I don't know what sizes are.
On that, and we will use SurveyMonkey in the future.
Yeah, a good point. It's been so long, I forgot, but we did set up a SurveyMonkey account, and we do have that active. So you're right. That's what we're going to use. Sorry, I got flustered and I forgot about it.
Okay, so I'm myself an entrepreneur. I understand that, and people are frustrated. Meanwhile, I was too. But I know the commitments you have, like, done. You are doing whatever anybody would do, like, if they are in your place. People are frustrated. I'm too, and probably you are too. But somebody asked over here, gentleman asked that, okay, what would be the final product? And you said that, okay, I'm not giving the deadline. That's fine. I understand that. You have blew it, people have lost the trust, and you don't want to say it again so that, all is coming back to you. My question is that when it started in 2012, I have been, changed to state, been to, 5 or 6 different jobs, met so many people. How it was possible that your idea was so...
I don't know what that noise is.
When I was... and when I was meeting people, they were already having an iExpander kind of stuff. Maybe those cases were just having an extra battery, not all the stuff that you have put in your board. But after 3 years, you started with a really brilliant idea, the iExpander name was right for it, but you are losing a sense of, losing your cutting edge because, like, you are getting late with the time. You're getting irrelevant slowly. So I would say, like, whatever it is, like, it's like making, because earlier you were the first one, and now there are so many battery extensions are there. So, like, you already lost your one edge that, it gives extra battery. Now somebody comes up with the flash, you lose your another thing. And somebody comes with something better, and then your idea is totally gone, where you were like totally, market leader. You could be if you were on a time, but I understand that nothing was in your hand. Most of the stuff was like that you were kind of outsourcing. So, I mean, I don't want a direct deadline or like this day, done or not done, but what expectations are.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. I think I understood everything you said, and yeah, we as far as what we could really capitalize on, as far as the market is concerned, much of that has gone away. We were not the first battery guy. There was Mophie had a product. There were others that had just battery backups, but there still, to the best of my knowledge, isn't anyone that has the removable memory, a battery, and external flash. Miraculously. So I'm at least happy about that. I'm still trying, to get this thing out as quick as possible. I know that sounds crazy after the delay that it's been. But and again, if people don't believe me, they don't believe me, but it's the truth. So I'm telling you, I'm still trying to get this thing out, and I'm going to get it out. And hopefully there will still be a market left when we get it out. There are other things that I'm working on to make this product more appealing than anything else on the market. But I'm not going to share anything until it's concrete. But when it is, I will make announcements on it.
I appreciate that. But like whatever like we are looking for, like probably. Like, I know it's I'm again, like, in other words, I'm asking a timeline, but...
the updates that he's been posting always include a graphic, and that graphic is the timeline from Sanmina. Okay, Sanmina is the engineering and production company, and if you look at those, he's giving you directly the estimates for where the engineering and production company is on their schedule. Okay, that's what those graphics and all the updates are.
And many people have called John Svatek and Brian Shaput at Sanmina directly to verify that they really are indeed a company and working on the project. And they're a Fortune 500 company. They're a huge company, and they have massive resources, and they're slipping in their commitments as well. So I've tried to just cut and paste their commitments to you guys so that it lends a little bit more credibility than the credibility you lost to me.
I see. I understand that.
I have a quick question.
This is Jenny again. I want to just say one thing, because somebody else asked what happened to me and where I went. And the reality is that I was under a lot of very personal attacks, people calling me names and things like that. And I'm a backer, just like the rest of you. I've got no skin in the game for anything beyond what I backed in this. And honestly, I got tired of being under a personal attack, number one, and number two, answering the same questions over and over and over and over and over. Where's a refund? Okay, we've answered that question like 5,000 times, and each person asks it and as though it's a brand new question. And it gets very frustrating and very challenging.
To be fair to those people, I just want to let you know, $80 is a lot to most of us out here. And when you wait 3 years for a product to come out, you're going to have to just get used to that question. I'm sorry. To me, at least, I'm going to speak to myself, $80 is a lot to me. And for it to just go out to thin air and not get taken care of at all, nothing, no update or anything, then, yeah, you're going to get that question a lot. I'm surprised you guys haven't had the Better Business Bureau after you, because this is kind of BS. And I don't even have an iPhone, so this product's going to be completely useless to me when it does come out.
I just had the opportunity to dial in. My name's Ike, about 20 minutes ago, and I think we've all lost sight of the fact that this is an investment in something that did not exist, and that Corey chose to take this upon himself and go out into Kickstarter. If you go to Kickstarter and you expect to purchase an existing item, you're not going to get it. Go to Walmart. $80 is a lot of money. Absolutely agree. But we're out there being venture capitalists on a small scale. And he's going through all kinds of heartache. And I bet you in his heart of hearts, if he chose and could, he would bail on this. But that's not the kind of man he is. He pays taxes and makes our country great. And we're supporting him. And that's all I got to say. And right now I would throw in with him on his next great idea for another $80 when I could scrape it together, because I think that's what makes our country great.
Thank you.
God bless you, and thank you for that comment. I really appreciate it. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you.
I have just one quick question on the schedule beyond what you put in the update, and that's just when you think you're going to be submitting product for final Apple test.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in order to submit to Apple, you have to have the app done, and you have to have the the product in hand that you can ship to them for approval. Because you guys aren't consumer market, and because I'm not selling the product, I believe, and I'm throwing in that qualifier, I believe that I won't have any issue just shipping the product to you guys, before I have that the final Apple blessing on it. I've had lots of discussions with Apple about the approval process itself, and they can't come back and change anything. So they can't say, hey, I know we gave you the approval for this memory card, but it's been 3 years and now we're changing our mind on that. We don't want you to have that anymore. It's so there's no risk of that. Basically, if it works, you're going to get approved. It's just a matter of getting in line and waiting for them to get to the approval process. That has varied in length over the past couple years. Vastly, from a couple weeks to a couple months. I don't know where it is right now, but again, for you guys, it doesn't matter because I think I'm going to be able to just ship the product out to you anyway.
One question on the memory card. It may have been answered earlier. I was about 20 minutes late to the call, but so it's not a standard micro SD card or whatever, but it is removable. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
No, the memory module itself is removable in and out of the case, but you cannot access the SD card itself. It's interchangeable module, not interchangeable cards.
Okay.
Right, what Denny said.
You understand the difference? I want to make sure that you understand the answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to buy the memory card separate from the iExpander when we get it?
No, I'm going to ship you. Well, yes and no. I'm going to ship you a card with the unit. But if you want more memory, then you would have to buy the cards. The removable
You'd have to buy the module. Cards. Not the card.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm calling it a card. You have to buy the removable memory module. Thank you, Denny. The removable memory module from us, but the price is going to be commensurate with any other card of the same capacity.
Have you established the size of shipping?
I'm sorry, there was noise there. Could you repeat that?
Have you established the size of the card that you're shipping, or the module you're shipping with the unit?
Yeah, I know that. Oh, you mean the as far as how many gig it is?
Yeah.
No, I'm. That's going to be a game day decision. Since all of this is coming out of my pocket, I'm trying to negotiate with two very large memory companies to get the price down when the time comes to actually ship the product. All of them have it in stock, so it's not going to be any delay on time of getting it. It's just a matter of the best price I can get for the highest quantity or the highest memory possible, and that's what I'm going to ship.
Understood.
Well, on the memory module, will you be able to access what's on it without it being in the case? Like, is there like an adapter you can hook it up to plug it into your computer or something?
Yeah, it'll have a USB connector on it, and you'll be able to plug that via cable directly into your computer to read and write from it, or to plug it into another device, Android tablet that has the adapter cable, or PC or Mac, and you'll be able to read and write to it from that, just like it was a regular USB thumb drive.
Okay, that sounds good.
So just for curiosity's sake, you all know that I'm Denny. Would anybody else like to tell me who's here, or who I'm speaking to, or we've been speaking to?
This is Eric Jackson. I actually had one comment, this same comment I've voiced a number of times. When we initially backed this, and I've heard the other things about venture capital, but when we initially backed this and when Corey created this project, he entered into a contract with Kickstarter to either complete a project or to refund people. And very, very early on, Corey even announced that his original project couldn't happen as stated, and without any consent of any of the backers went on with it. And I'm sure there's some that have been okay with it, but several of us have said, hey, we're not okay with this, we want refunds, and Corey just ignored us. So, what's going on with that?
Eric, let me actually answer your question. Before we actually went forward and spent a dime, we sent out a survey to the backers and said, these are the challenges that we've had. If I recall correctly, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of between 3 and 6 months in. And we polled the backers, and the backers said unanimously, not unanimously, but by majority, to go forward, spend the money, and start building something.
Yes.
And so it wasn't
at that time,
ignoring the backers in any way, shape, or form. It was by majority vote to go forward and start building something instead of waiting.
That contract did not say by majority you could change the project. I mean, you're still in breach of contract. If you went back and said, hey, look, people that want to continue, those that want out can get out, that would have been within your contract. But you just said, hey, whether you want to or not, this is what we're going to go do with your money, and when you're done, hey, screw you guys.
Well, Eric, I don't want to, you're talking about contracts and stuff. When you back a project on Kickstarter, you're also entering into an agreement that says, I understand there's risk. I may never receive anything at all for
I realize that there's
investment
risk
in this project.
Yes, I understand that there's risk. And like you said, before one penny was spent, the project was changed. And in violation of that contract, Corey went ahead and went in a different direction. When there were a number of us asking
on his own. We polled the backers made a decision, and we went forward.
All of the backers did not make a decision.
Well, the people that chose to participate in the discussion, all of them were heard.
I was part of that discussion. I requested a refund. And Corey came back with his snide remarks and then stopped responding at all.
Okay, Eric,
how do I come back with snide remarks and also not respond?
I requested a refund from you, and that was back. You didn't directly respond to me. You responded to somebody else, and that was back when you went into your radio silence for a long time.
And that was also a long time after we had polled the backers and made a decision to go forward. Okay? You can't change horses in midstream and say, oops, I guess I don't like this, or the direction that it's headed, and change your mind. and decide to ask for a refund. It just doesn't work that way. You backed the project, you're in for the ride.
And I just want to say the spirit of the project has never changed. Yes, there are some things that have changed from a fit standpoint, but form and function, everything has remained the same. The only thing that you could say that has changed is that the 30-pin adapter to the Lightning adapter, and again, I can do it from a technical standpoint, and I showed it in the video, but Apple would not allow me to do it. So, but really, that was actually an addition to my original campaign anyway. In the beginning, I didn't have it. Because when I launched it, the 4 was still out, the 5 wasn't out, and the Lightning connector there was no such thing.
And to be honest, when the project was started, that was a pretty useful feature for a lot of people, and including myself. But at this point, so much has already converted over to being Lightning dock compatible that it really is not a big deal anymore. So I'm not going to miss that feature at this point. I would have, even if it's a few years ago.
I'm in the same boat with you. I was super excited about it because I had all my accessories that I could plug into, and that's why I did it. I wanted to make sure that I could use all my 30-pin accessories. And every hotel room you go into, it's got a clock radio with that 30-pin connector on it. So I'm with you on that. And now it's like it's no big deal. Now I don't care. But bottom line is Apple wouldn't let me do it, so I couldn't do it. Anybody else, by the way, feel free to vent or whatever more, or don't hold back. I want to hear it. I want to make sure that you guys are heard, and I want to address everything. So.
Yes, sir. I believe your angelic assistant asked for people's names. My name is Ike Eisenhower.
Hi, Ike. Thanks for joining in today.
I guess I would ask one thing. Are you able to do maybe some crib notes to send out to folks that weren't able to dial in? I think that would help you a long ways.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Hey, Charlie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
My name's CJ Cumberland. I'm a backer since day one. I haven't said a word or done anything. I've checked every email since the day they'd updated. I totally get the other side of the spectrum, equally as unhappy as everyone else is, and what we put down. But I also get, and I think she put it best. We all kind of signed up for a ride, and we went for it. We kind of jumped the market a little bit, tried to get something that was unique and wasn't out there. And it's just part of the bargain. $80 hurts, but I mean, if you're in that particular game and $80 really hurts, then you shouldn't have done that to begin with. So I do feel the $80 or whatever it is the people invested it, but I did realize it's kind of a chance because the product doesn't exist. So I guess from my end, the only thing I'd like to know is just, and maybe some other people want to know. I don't know. I don't really care about the refund stuff. Some people do. I get it. It sounds like I'm amazed that you're, keep going with it, and you've got your plan. I kept waiting for this just didn't work out. See ya, but that never happened. So, one day if I do get a product, that'll be a surprise. But I guess what I would like to know, what would help me, and maybe everybody else, is what mistakes did you make? You personally, not just the process, and then what advice would you give to us looking in future projects to try and help us to make sure we don't get in this situation again? Because I think you have a unique perspective from the other side that it hasn't been really successful. And I'd like to know that, just to hear from you. Maybe some people just want to hear it, in your opinion, what you didn't do right. Sure. Or what do you believe it was fully out of your hands and you're just a victim of circumstance? And then finally what's your recommendation for us as backers in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking me. I've learned a ton First of all, my core business is Cortec, and my main customer is Caterpillar and Rockwell. And I thought that I knew what I needed to know to take this thing on. I thought that I had all the bases covered, and quite frankly, I didn't. I've been in business since 1989. Well, actually, on my own since 1992, and I've had a ton of delays on stuff, and you would think that I would have seen everything since 1992 that I needed to see, but I didn't. And I made a mistake. I made a mistake by committing to bringing this thing out in the time frame that I thought I was going to be able to do it in. If I could go back in time, I would have grossly extended the timeline. Hindsight's 20/20. What I knew at the time, I was making the best estimations, and I have along the whole way. And actually, Denny has stepped on me several times, especially when we were out in Las Vegas together, that I still, even during those videos, I wanted to commit to a particular timeline, and she said, don't do it, because you don't know that that's going to happen. And I said, you're right, but honestly, in the back of my head, begrudgingly, I thought, I'll still be able to hit this. I'll still be able to hit that, and I didn't. So I've learned a ton. I'm so sorry for the angst that I've caused anybody, and the whole money situation. I get it. I mean, I'm a backer too. I mean, I wanted this project to happen for me too, and it's something that I wasn't raised the way to give up, and it's because it was my mistake, because I'm the one that screwed the pooch on the the timelines. I have taken every bit of my own money. I've taken from any profits I've made on any other entities I'm involved in. I've thrown that at this to get the thing done and to get it finished and to make it the best thing I can. The memory, the external memory. Originally, we thought, it was going to be a standard micro SD card, and now we found out, afterwards that we had to include a custom memory module. So that means that I had to now pay for memory. So all this stuff has come out of my pocket, which is I look at that as my penalty for being late. But I'm going to see this through as best I can, and I'm going to deliver you guys a product, and I'm going to make everybody as happy as possible. And I know that I'm not going to please everybody, but I'm going to see this thing through to the end. And but gosh, yeah, I've made so many mistakes in my timelines that the next time I will temper that. I have lots of other projects that I want to do, and most of you probably don't want to back them, but I'm going to still go on with them. And there are great things that I think we can do together. But I will be extra sensitive and aware to committing to any timelines before I post something public.
In fairness, I just want to say, in fairness to you, that I primarily back electronics projects. I like playing with electronic toys, so I find lots of neat stuff on Kickstarter, and I don't think I've had more than, of the 50 or 60 I've backed, there might have been 2 that delivered on time, and not very many more that delivered less than 6 months late. So, yeah, I know 2 years late is a lot more than 6 months, but still, I'm still waiting on a few that are about the same time frame as yours, and they seem to be doing nothing at all. So at least many of us do appreciate, I'm sure, that you are following through on this and, delivering what you committed, even if it does happen to be late. So,
well,
thank you.
thanks for the kind words, and I appreciate it. I have gotten some words of encouragement from a lot of people, and I really do appreciate it, because after a while you think that everybody hates you, and I don't want anybody to hate me. I want to make this right, or as right as I can, and I hope you guys understand that I'm just pushing through to try and get something out there to you guys. And I know people are very upset with me, and I don't blame you. It's my fault. I'm the one that made the project, so all the buck stops with me. So, if I could do it over again, I would do it differently, but I'd still do it.
Okay, since people were introducing themselves, my name is Nick Herkner. I was the guy who called and then I got cut off, but I was asking about the timelines before and what happened to Denny, et cetera. I just wanted to introduce myself. And I'll just say, if you do another project in the future, I think as a backer, the thing you could do better is communication. I don't think there'd be as much anger if you didn't disappear for a while. And that might have been addressed, and I apologize, I got cut off the call and came back on. But I think if you do something in the future, I think your communication has been awful with the backers. Just terrible, and I think that's where a lot of this anger or maybe confusion comes from. But you've not been good, one update a month, saying nothing. And still now we don't have anything, but it's nice at least you're talking to it. But 2.5 years for a conference call might be a long time. So that's my 2 cents, and I just wanted to introduce myself.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. I'll take that. I will. I don't know why I didn't think of doing a conference call earlier. I just didn't. I just thought of. What made me think of it is we moved offices, and I got this. We have this new phone service called Ring Central, and they allow all these this conference calls. And then I thought, you know what, this would be good to just talk it out and let everybody vent. So, but you're right. I should have. There's certainly other conference call services. I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier, but I just didn't. I've given the updates, and I've tried to tell you guys everything that I know, and I have dropped off of the of looking at the boards. I rely on people to call me or to email me if they want to get a hold of me, and those to be honest, I can't mentally. I can't look at those anymore. I'm going to put a gun to my head if I keep reading those things. It's just there's so much negative and anger in there that I've tried to address, and I've done the best I can. I can honestly look myself in the mirror and say I've done the best I can, and I will try and communicate better. I'm happy to do a call every week if you guys want. This has been easy and certainly not a problem to set up, except for I gave you the wrong call-in number, but it's par for the course for this project, I guess.
Nick, by the way, this is Denny. I don't know if you heard my explanations when you dropped out.
No, I didn't, but yeah, if you want to go again, or I believe I kind of heard some of the stuff after, so. But thank you. It's good you're still around, actually. It's nice to hear you.
I am. Basically, just so you know, to answer you directly, since you actually asked the question, is that I'm not an employee of Charlie's or anything like that. I'm just a backer. And when the attacks online really started to get personal and people started publishing personal information, I backed out because I'm a backer just like you guys. And I don't want someone showing up on my doorstep with a shotgun because they're pissed off over an $80 Kickstarter project. It really scared me.
Understood. Totally. That makes sense. So I would guess that if there was, you're hoping for some communication after that, someone would have jumped in. There's just an absence.
I agree with you 100%.
I understand what you're saying too. Cool.
And I cannot tell you the number of times that I have told Charlie that he is not the best at the communication side, which is why I volunteered to try to help him in the first place. And have, in the background, continued trying to do that. It hasn't necessarily come through to you guys, which isn't necessarily fair. And I get, there have been a few people who have emailed me directly, and I've been in communication with them. But I don't know, at a certain point, it just gets hard because I feel the same way you do. How on earth do you say, yes, there's still more delays, we're still working on things, and, you know, Charlie's accepting responsibility for timeline errors and things. The bottom line, just to summarize, is he hired the two worst possible engineering companies to go forward and build and design things, who lied to him, faked information, led him on, and when he discovered it and tried to get information back, they kept things, you know, so that when it went to the next place, they essentially had to start over from the beginning. And that happened not once, not twice, but 3 times before we got to San Mina. And now San Mina has the situation well in hand and is going forward. And I think that we find them to be reliable, they're accessible. Backers have contacted them to be sure that they are, in fact, actually real. And, you know, if they had been the first people that we hooked up with, it would have been, or that Charlie hooked up with, it would have been a radically different story, you know. And he's tried to explain that at different points, but at the end of the day, like he said, the buck stops with him. And, you know, so there is no excuse for it. There's an explanation, but there's no excuse.
Okay. My name is Arnold Urbano, and I just joined you probably about 10 minutes ago. So this could be a redundant question. So what are our outlook right now, or how are we going forward with this?
Yeah, so we have gone over a lot, and I'm happy to answer that. If I can give you just a quick answer, and then I'm going to publish notes of this
just
afterwards.
to let you know, Charlie, I understand, you know, what you go through. I'm in the business, so as much as delay as has come, I still totally support you and your company.
I appreciate that. And more than you know, I appreciate that.
Hey, Arnold, just a really, really direct answer for what you sort of missed on is that he's thinking about July to be able to start building and shipping for the 5 and 5S versions, and probably around September for the 6 and 6 Plus versions. There's been a lot of discussion leading up to that point, but that's probably the crux of what you wanted to know.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Hey, one thing you sparked in my mind here in answer to the last question.
I know you're a better gentleman than this, sir.
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I know you're a better gentleman than this, sir.
He said he knows that you're a better gentleman than this, but I don't know exactly what he means by that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'd like to say something real quick, and
sure.
This is just sort of an interesting perspective. My name is Matthew Southwell, and I back the project along with many other people. But when I go into a Kickstarter, I don't go into it expecting to get anything out of it. I mean, in all honesty, a lot of them fail, and in reality, it's kind of paramount to a donation of sorts. So I kind of have a disconnect with a lot of the people who are so incredibly hostile in this situation. I mean, yes, it's excellent when something comes out of it, but at the same time, you know, when you're going in doing venture capital, there's a lot of risk associated with that, and sometimes you don't get what you want. And that's part of going and doing a Kickstarter and contributing to that. And people really need to understand that and accept their part in this. And that is their part, which is the risk.
Here, I'll second that. And,
This is Dan.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Want to jump in. This topic has come up a couple of times, and I'm a backer, just like the vast majority of people, I think everyone but Charlie, on the call. And I don't view this as venture capital. I actually do some actual capitalization from time to time. This is not venture capital. This is a different type of funding. It's certainly not a gift. When I want to make a donation, I make a donation.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you. Could you please speak up? It's really hard to hear you.
Hopefully this is better.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Denny. So I do some actual capitalization. This is not venture capital. It's nothing like venture capital, because the only real upside out of this is to see the success of the product by being made. And I'm not saying this in a critical fashion. That's part of the reason why Kickstarter exists originally for artistic ventures and things like that, where what often comes out is something that exists once and is done. And then, this project was among the earlier ones to go into the hardware side. So the expectation of an output is very real, both on myself and others. The explanation, Denny, that you gave, the summarization of why we are where we are, where it really just came down to 3 bad purchase decisions that Charlie had made as to who the consultants were that he was working with, is a wonderful summary. And that's the information that ultimately I think a lot of us really are looking for is, okay, this is why this has not happened. And to get that type of recap in a polite and very direct and honest way, without the obfuscation of, okay, this is, I'm not trying to, do the other stuff in, okay, this is an absolute promise of what's going to happen. That's really important, and that's where this particular project has not been successful, because the communication has been erratic. And I know that, Denny, in particular, you've done a really good job of trying, particularly early on, to keep people involved. And yes, the vitriol was unfortunate and extraordinarily nasty. By the same token, I am really hoping that we can get consistent communications as much as possible, so we know this is where we are, this is what's happening, and this is what's happening. And anytime there's communication, you actually have to go through that entire process each and every time, which it's not pleasant, but it is also really important, especially on a project that is in a state where the project funders the really are extraordinarily concerned for the outcome to be successful. We want it to be successful. I'm quite confident of that. Some people have different needs as to what that success will be defined as. But we want there to be successful. We need to know where we are, where we're going, and why we are where we are each and every time. And that needs to happen regularly.
So I appreciate those comments. I would. I just want to say one thing, and then I want to ask you guys a question. Number one, I was struck by one of the comments just a few moments ago. It reminded me of something else that I would do better. As far as the engineering is concerned, I would do the engineering in-house. I have electrical engineers and mechanical engineers that I can use and I have used for this project, especially the mechanical engineering. The electrical engineering was done originally by my engineer Timothy, and he's the one that made the board that we showed in the video, and we got it to function. But when I found out that we had to have a whole lot more interface with Apple and all of the requirements that Apple had, I thought that I had to go to a firm that specialized in making Apple hardware. I chose this company out in Colorado who I thought had a lot of experience with making Apple products and accessories, and it turns out that they didn't, and the delays that they kept giving me, in the end, I got product from them that was just nothing more than, not much more, I should say, than design that they had gotten from a semiconductor company and put on it's called a development board. And they hadn't done much more than that. Then I went to the second company, and these guys took it pretty far, actually. And I was quite pleased at the beginning of that relationship. And then all of a sudden they went psycho on me and didn't want to finish the project, wouldn't tell me why, got in legal battles with them. It was a nightmare. Finally got everything from them, and then I went to San Mina. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to a Fortune 500 company that I've had a lot of experience with. I know that they're quality and competent people, and I'm gonna give it to them. I have had, as you've seen, I've had delays from them, and I haven't been happy with their communication. So if I were to do it again, I would hire some Apple experienced engineers, and I would do it in-house myself, so I could manage it every day. Then I would know exactly what's going on more real time, and I could communicate better with you guys. My question is that it's a relative term, better communication, and I want to make it more subjective. So, can you guys tell me what communication you would like to see? Because I'm thinking that I'm communicating okay with you guys, and apparently some people feel that I'm not. So I would like to know what type of communication you guys would like to see from me.
Can I throw something out there first?
Yeah, sure.
And Charlie, you and I have talked a lot over the last few years, but when you write the updates, I don't even understand what they say. And what I see is, here's another delay. I don't really understand the reason for it. It's something to do with electrical something or other, or acronyms that I don't even understand. But it's just a delay. And they come out really sort of sporadically. When you and I had worked together on them, I worked kind of hard at translating what you were saying into English, if you will, or a little bit more plain speech. And I think that since we stopped doing that, it's been a little bit more of a challenge. That's my 2 cents. But maybe I'm just over-appraising my own opinions of myself. So I'm going to put that out there before anybody else jumps in, and then anybody else, please feel free.
The question on the table is, does anybody have any suggestions as to, I've heard several people say that it's been horrible communication, or I need to communicate better, and I would just like to know for somebody to quantify that.
Charlie, this is Alok. I think Danny just said it correctly, because not everybody is too technical, and like when you're explaining the real problem, probably like they just want to hear in English. So I think that would probably improve, and probably the more frequent that you're posting or like communicating, that would be more helpful, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on board with that. I mean, it's been so long, I kind of just skim over the emails and say, hey, somebody's in the game somewhere. But I can say I honestly don't know what you have right now at all. What, I guess just from the language, I mean, are you almost there? Do we have pieces? I don't know. Maybe throw a picture in now and then for the people that just want to skim the email and move on, but it's just like, I don't know what you have, and maybe the mode of communication everybody's saying, kind of dumb it down and I know why you're doing it, because you're wanting to put a flashlight in every area to say this is you want to over technical to compensate for people. Maybe they'll be less unhappy, or so they'll understand your exact headache. And I guess at the end of the day, most people have a question of how much longer, where are you at now, and when do you think it might be done? And that's really kind of what most people look at when they see that.
Okay, so dumb it down and just how much longer, basically.
Yeah, but we're all educated in this process, understanding that everybody's been asking how much longer for 3 years. So, I think we all pretty much understand a preface. Even when earlier it was mentioned July on the 5.5 plus, September on the 6.6 plus, I'm already, I'm not I didn't attach myself to those dates at all. I just heard it, and I understand. At least it gives me something to put out there and put on my little board and then wait.
It's a yardstick to measure against. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the other problems that everyone has at this point is it's very much less a technical issue anymore, and more, and this isn't really the best way to say this. It's an emotional issue for most people at this point. It's not. Everybody's so frustrated that the frustration is the first thing we hear. And when you read something technical and you read an explanation, it's very different than this kind of interface where we hear your frustration. We get those inferences from you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something as simple as a quick video blog once a week where people can even join in. It's kind of like this where we can interface and get this kind of information in a more interactive way where we can say, well, we need a little clarity here. I think your conference call idea has a lot of merit.
Okay,
I actually agree with you a lot. I think once a week is probably unrealistic. Maybe once a month is probably a more realistic goal. And I know Charlie said, oh yeah, we can do this once a week if you want. I know from experience that it doesn't always work trying to get him on a call once a week. And if you set that expectation up, you're guaranteed to fail. But once a month is realistic. Would that work, do you think?
Well, I think an update once a week with a call once a month might be a better. I mean, sending out a quick email update or a quick reminder, hey, we're going to have the call or something so that we see that. So everybody gets the sense, hey, there's something being done. We know that they're working on it. And then to have the ability to interact and ask questions and get clarity and get updated, once a month. I think that's an excellent sort of idea there.
Okay. The reason that I'm saying once a month versus once a week, if you look at any of the graphics that Sanmina gives you, it's not done week by week. And often there is not a change week by week. They do their goals on a monthly basis. They may have sub-goals that are week by week on their own level, but they only have, this is for the month of, May, this is what we're working on. It's not necessarily a week by week thing. And I can also say from experience that posting an update that just says, hi, checking in, things are status quo, causes a flurry of backlash, and it's trying to decide where that fine line is of wanting to satisfy people, because to be honest, the reason Charlie went to doing the more technical updates was largely because people were saying, we're not stupid. We want to know the specific details, and started throwing out acronyms back at him. So I think there's a certain level of backer that has a greater technical understanding, and he did that in response to those backers. So it's a hard thing, and you've got such a broad spectrum of people to figure out what satisfies the majority of people the majority of time, because the people who are vocal don't have much positive to say, and so it's hard to assess from the feedback. So where we're gauging is from the people who have taken it a step further and called Charlie or emailed him or emailed me, and gauging from that and trying to adjust. And maybe that's not a fair representation, but just to let you know how it got from point A to point B, that's how. It's a vocal back that says, I think you should do it this way. So, okay, all right, well, you're a vocal backer, and you've made the effort to reach out, so let's try to accommodate that.
From a historical perspective, which I really didn't have, what you're saying makes a great deal of sense.
Yeah,
I agree completely.
I'll get guys, just so you know, I'll get people that say everything from stop effing updating, I don't care about your project anymore, to people that say, attaboy, keep going, to people that say, we want more information, to people that say, just tell me when it's going to ship. So yeah, to Denny's point, it's hard to satisfy everybody with just one update, but I got to tell you, I'm enjoying this conference call because it seems like this is the most effective communication that we've had so far, and I think we can continue it, and rightly so, Denny. I think once a month is a lot more realistic, and just because I don't have anything to report on a weekly basis other than, we're still working on the firmware, or we're still doing this or still doing that, and we have gotten a lot of backlash from people when we just throw out this, what they'll call meaningless updates. So I don't know. It's like darned if you do and darned if you don't. But I think a monthly call would be great. And then whenever there's something of substance to report, I'll report it.
I'm gonna throw out something else here, because as near as I could tell, I've heard 5 to maybe 8 people. There may have been some more who have been just muted or not participatory in the conversation. But, if you compare that to 1,700 backers, it's really hard to figure out where that line of satisfaction is. So in order to try to encourage more backers to be participatory, I would like to maybe ask you guys to put out comments about how you felt about the call and how it was. And if we're going to do it on a monthly basis on your guys' encouragement, I'm all for it. But then I'm going to ask you to please let the other backers know that you participated in the call, you got your questions answered. They may not have been the answers that you wanted, but you got an answer. Or if you think it's just all complete and utter BS, please feel free to say that too. But that Charlie was available and on the call to hear it, at the very least, so that maybe on the next call, there will be more people who do get involved and feel participatory in the process. And maybe that will help the communication.
This is Dan again. I think that's a very fair request, and I will certainly, to use the term again, pledge to do that, and I will respond. I would encourage, because there are a lot of different components to communication, I am all in favor of monthly-ish conference call. I think it makes a lot of sense scheduling-wise. As far as updates, I agree. A weekly update is probably, given this context, way too often. But to do something every other week or every 3 weeks, whatever it is, it just needs to be set at least one in advance. So, a follow-up to this one should say, okay, there will be another update, on or by May 26th, or let's say May 29th. Just so that the expectations are very clear, and the conversation can then continue, and the next call maybe not be until the middle of June 15th, or whatever day works for realistically the two of you to then coordinate with us, because whether I can be on a call and whether others, that's going to be scheduling dependent. I just want to throw that out there, so that the more you're able to set and then meet expectations, that's the way to restore confidence of what's going on. But in terms of the request to say, yes, I was on the call and asked questions, got answers, I will absolutely do that.
But there's got to be there's got to be some method of knowing what happened, because I can tell you already what's going to happen is, let's say you get another 200 people on the phone and they hear how great it was and how informative, you're going to have the same phone call over and over again. The same group phone call asking the same questions. So we need to start from a new platform to where hopefully people have an opportunity to take in what was said already, or else you're not, I don't think it's really going to accomplish anything unless, because the same people who didn't hear what we've talked about today are going to ask some questions. Somebody's going to get on the phone and say, when is mine being shipped? And or asking you things that we've already. So it wouldn't make sense for me to get back on the phone and do it all over again,
Yeah,
yeah,
good point.
and I hear you completely, because that's been part of the challenge when it comes to the updates and answering comments and things like that. Because even if we posted the entire, call,
yeah, no one's going to read it. No one's going to read it.
they're not gonna read it. They're not gonna listen to it, and they're just gonna come in and they're gonna ask the same questions underneath that have been asked 5,000 times before.
Right. Well, how about some sort of a top 10 questions asked thing? I'm sure you could rattle those off out of memory real quick and just get those out of the way.
I could also do bullet points. I'm a big fan of bullet points.
Yeah, Charlie's saying bullet points. Somebody else said top 10 questions. I agree with all of it, and I think it's a good idea. I think we should try that. I don't think it will change.
Yeah.
Because I think that what I can tell you from my personal experience, that from update to update, it's, there's going to be the same, 10 or 15 people who are going to say, you guys are assholes, where's my money? And then there's going to be 3 people who are going to say, oh, it's Kickstarter, that's what happens. And there's going to be 2 people who say, keep going, we're still behind you. No matter what the update is, that's guaranteed to be in the comments. Now,
well, so here's what I was thinking is,
and this is Dan, right?
This is Matthew.
Matthew, sorry. Hi, Matthew.
Hi. I think that the sort of along the lines of bullet points, I think if we approach it from the context of we have these conference calls, if you have something that you want to bring up for discussion on the conference call, feel free to send it. And in a loose agenda, it'll be brought up to the people on the call. And then we can address those through minutes from the call. So that if a person has a question, it gets discussed in the call. And then we post the results of the discussion.
I think that's a great theory.
And
I'm all in for giving it a try. I can tell you if we get 200 people on a call, it will never happen because there's going to be a certain number of people who are going to, speak up and get their questions in no matter what. So I think it's a great idea. I'm all in for giving it a try that way. And, all we can do is try it and go forward and see how it goes. If it degrades into something that doesn't work, at least those of you who have been on this one and go forward with it will understand the process by which how it either succeeded or failed and can help us participate in it. If anybody would like, I would be happy to give you my personal email address, which is a different way of reaching out than trying to reach Charlie, because again, I'm a backer like you guys. To you guys specifically, who took the time to call in and talk about it, so that if we want to try to come up with an agenda for either questions we want answered or whatever, I'm happy to give you that as an additional way of either getting information or trying to figure out collectively what the best way is to go forward and what we want to know.
I think that would be helpful.
Okay. You have a pen? I'll give you my email address.
Go for it.
Okay, it's J like James, D like David, T like Tom, A like Apple, G like George, I like ice cream, S like Sam, H like Henry, @gmail.
Danny, can you repeat one more time, please?
It's J like James, D like David, T like Tom, A like Apple, G like George, I like ice cream, S like Sam, H like Henry, @gmail.
And I think that was found in the
guys,
Kickstarter
do not
bathroom.
publish my private email address to the entire Kickstarter board, please.
It was already displayed in the Kickstarter bathroom, proverbially.
Right.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the question about that, the top 10 question would be nice, and like if we can merge that idea with another gentleman who said about like having an agenda, so we can streamline the question and answer, because it's like you join after 30 minutes, and then you ask the same question that which was discussed in early 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So if we have like sort of agenda, that will be great for the discussion going forward.
Well, what you guys are going to do is you're going to email me with the questions that you want to have answered. And collectively, from there, I will email it to Charlie and back to you guys. And so we will have something that is like a loose agenda, more or less, of what questions we want to try to get answered. And then Charlie and I will work together to put an update together post-call that includes the bullet points or highlights of the questions that were asked and answered from the call that will hopefully people will actually read and know from the next. And, we'll cross our fingers and hope.
I have a question. Is there like a checklist somewhere in writing, or do you have it like a list that you're working through that maybe you could post for us to kind of follow along? Like, okay, we've accomplished this.
That's what those graphics are that he's been posting with every update. That's the punch list from the engineering company, because everything's 100% in their hands right now. And Charlie cuts
all the way through production
from their emails directly into the updates for what they're working on right then, and what the schedule is for what's upcoming and what's been done. And there's on the left-hand side of the image, it says what percentage of it has been completed up to that point. That's what confused some people, because it had 2014 on the last image, but it was 100% complete, just carried over from the previous year. And Charlie, going forward, I think, move that a little bit to the one side and flip that off, just to, not have the confusion in there.
Is it pretty technical in nature? I'd have to go rehash that over there. Are all those little updates? I mean, how far broken down is it? Is it so far broken down that I'm probably going to look over the 6 things and not really know what they are?
It is to me. And what we're hearing back from you, or what I'm hearing back from you guys, is that other people would like me to maybe help work with Charlie, again, trying to translate some of those things back into English for the update.
Yeah, because I think he was, I think what the guy was just asking about was, I'd love to know, and this is what I was going to ask Charlie, if he, you don't have to dumb it down like I'm a third grader, but it helps people feel better to know we've got XXX done, and go ahead and rehash it, because versus now otherwise you're just talking about what you don't have done. So we have the silicone case done. The packaging looks great. The camera functionality is perfect. This memory module is a hang-up for us, and it's fully in the hands of them, that sort of thing. So I can see broken down going, okay, well, these guys are 70% done here. The packaging's ready to go, or the molding of the case is there. The camera's not the problem, so that's a thing I don't have to worry about, and just something like that. And I'd be curious as if he can even say, explain that right now where we're at, on that type of level.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a really good
idea. Because it makes you feel good. It makes me feel like I have something. I'm getting something, Otherwise, we're just hearing in technical terms, what needs to be done. It's hard to put a timeline on that.
Yeah. So the case, I'll take a crack at that. The case for the 4 and the 5 are done. So what that means is all of the the plastic and silicone insert and everything. That's all tooled up. The production tooling is done. Those parts are ready to have a printed circuit board put in them and a battery and everything be assembled and shipped out. So that part is done. The printed circuit board is what Sanmina is working on, and all of the features of the project are in that printed circuit board. So on the timeline. I did put a translation in one of the former emails on what HW and FW is, hardware and firmware, and what all the acronyms in here stood for. I apologize for not putting that in there again. But all of the functionality of the whole thing, it's been changed. And what I mean when I say changed is it hasn't been changed from the original concept, but the way that we're going about completing it has been changed so many times because of all these hurdles that we've come through. But the functionality of the whole thing, so the flash and the memory and the battery. The hard parts are really right now is the firmware for the power management, so the battery. So making sure that it's charging when we want it to charge and not overcharging and all those sorts of things. The app is written skeletally. And we know what the end app is going to look like, but the app has now been redone, I think, 4 times. Based on all the other changes that we made, we had to go and kind of redo that app. So if you're writing an app for a game or something, it's a lot different than writing an app for a piece of hardware. Every change that you make in the hardware, not every one, but a lot of changes that you make in the hardware, you have to change the app as well. Feature-wise, I guess what I'm saying here is that all of the features are, almost done. There's nothing that we haven't, there's no stumbling blocks yet, like, hey, we can't figure this out. The biggest issue with us has been the power management, which has been the battery, controlling the battery to do what we want the battery to do and when we want it to do it. There's really nothing else holding us up. I'm waiting for this power management code or the firmware to be finished so that we can go into production and put the chips on the board and then put the things in the cases and ship them out. Did I do a decent job on that, or did I create more questions? And if so, throw them out.
No, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that was a
good start.
Yeah. So just a question out of the curiosity, because I'm myself a developer, so when you start talking about like this, the firmware is being the device that has to be changed. So, like, what kind of like design pattern that we are being used in there, so that like every time something is changed underneath, you are not changing the whole app. You know what I mean? Like it's just like some kind of an interface layer that you write, and if something is changed underneath that, you just change that interface layer, and rest of the app should be working as it is.
Yeah. So there's two different ways. The processor that we chose for this is by a company called ST Microelectronics. The processor changed from one type of processor to another. So when that changed, we had to do rewrite the firmware. The app was originally, and I'm going off my memory here, the app was originally written using one type of language. I'm going to mess this up, I know, but it was using, the app had to be rewritten because of the hardware changes that we made and some of the chips that we had decided to use. And I'll take a note here to give you the specifics on that. I can't remember it off the top of my head, and it would take me too long to dig back through the previous updates to find the term I'm searching for right now. Mm-hmm. But the app had to be rewritten based on the hardware and based on the.
It also had to be rewritten because they updated iOS. And
well, that's true too. Yeah.
compatible with. It needed to be backward compatible.
I mean, I don't think
iOS
so. That
8,
should be an
iOS 7,
issue
iOS 6. It had to be compatible for jailbreakers, as well as with the current version.
No, I'm sorry about that, but I don't think so. That's actually correct, because I myself supporting like apps which is back till iOS 6. So like might be what Charlie said, it might be right, but not on iOS side. I would say it's not that big of a deal.
It definitely made a big difference between iOS 6 and iOS 7. Between 7
I
and
know
8,
that.
not a significant difference.
I know that. I know that because I'm myself a iOS developer. That's why I'm telling you. I myself
Right, I understand. It's not on Denny. It's not on the app side. It's but all of it will be backward compatible, like most apps are. And I'm sorry. I wish I could remember the term of the first guy who wrote it. I'll think of it before we hang up, I hope.
Well, that's all right. I'll send you an email. We can just take it offline. That's all right.
Okay, great. Yeah, send me an email, and I'll definitely answer that. I'll get you the answer, no problem. I have a 2:00 conference call that I'm supposed to join. I'm happy to postpone it if and just join it late if you guys want to still discuss things. But if we're wrapping things up, then I'll jump off and go to that other conference call. But I just want to know if you guys want to keep going. I'll keep going.
Mr. Charlie, one more thing. Your email address is ccorey@coretech.net, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, awesome. I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I think we're going to wind up wrapping up then. Those of you that wanted it have my email, and everybody's got Charlie's email. We'll work to get a sort of a summary of this call out in an update form as soon as we can.
And I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day to participate in this, and both for the positive comments and the negative comments. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a great day, Charlie.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Eric?
People are going to get started here. We got a lot to talk about. But now, let's think more focus, right? Oh, and one more thing. You got anything to say? Let us know who you want, because a lot of us here don't know each other.
You want a fresh one? Who is this guy? What the fuck is he doing? Who I am? Who I am? Or who am I? Who am I is the question. That's one we're all certainly going to find out who I am. In there, want to come out and go, hey, I'm who I am is too deep and almost, you got to go in deep and pull out the thing, like with that movie with the thing came out of the stomach and 8 other people on that fucking spaceship and the rest. My name is Ben.